Hello and welcome. I'm a hotel AI expert, and I'm really pleased to welcome all students of Europe Hotel School to your online learning journey. Today, we're diving into a topic that's, well, absolutely essential, upselling. But we're going to look at it differently. Forget the pushy sales tactics. We're going to explore the psychology behind it and how you can transform upselling into something that genuinely enhances your guest experience.
You know the feeling, right? We've all been on the receiving end of a sales pitch that just feels wrong. It's intrusive, it's awkward. But then there are those other times where someone makes a recommendation and you think, wow, that's exactly what I needed. So what is that fine line? What separates a helpful suggestion from an intrusive pitch? Getting this right is everything, because it can literally be the difference between a good stay and a great one.
So here's how we're going to break it down. We're going to follow the guest's psychological journey through 3 key stages: clarity, evaluation, and then confidence. After that, we'll get into the specifics of mastering context and framing your suggestions. And we'll wrap it all up with what I think is the most critical shift you can make: developing an advisor's mindset.
Okay, let's jump right in. The single biggest factor that determines whether your suggestion feels helpful or intrusive is timing. It really is that simple. You can have the most perfect, most valuable recommendation in the world, but if you offer it at the wrong moment, it's not just going to fall flat, it's going to backfire. But if you get the timing just right, you become a hero. You practically look like a mind reader.
The key to getting that timing right is understanding a concept called psychological readiness. Now, all that means is tuning into your guest's mental and emotional state. Are they confused and just trying to get the basic information, or are they relaxed, informed, and ready to explore their options? Knowing where they are in that journey, well, that's the whole game.
So let's start at the very beginning with the first stage, clarity. This is that moment a guest first approaches you, maybe at the front desk. Right now, they have one goal, and it isn't to be sold to. It's simply to understand. Your only job at this point is to provide that clarity, and in doing so, build a foundation of trust.
Just put yourself in their shoes for a second. You've just arrived. Maybe you're tired from traveling. You're in a new environment, and you're feeling a bit uncertain. You have questions. The last thing you want is someone overwhelming you with a dozen choices. You just want clear, simple answers from someone who seems like they're on your side. And that is precisely why this approach, greeting them and then immediately trying to upsell, is such a disaster. It creates friction. It makes the guest feel like you're not actually listening to them. You're basically offering a solution to a problem they haven't even had a chance to understand yet. It just shuts down the conversation. So what does the right approach look like? It's simple. You focus entirely on being helpful. You offer a warm, genuine welcome. You clearly explain the basics of what they need to know. You answer every question they have, patiently. When you do this, you create comfort. You build trust. And that trust is what makes them receptive to your ideas later on. Okay, now that you've established that trust and provided clarity, something really interesting starts to happen. The guest's mindset begins to shift. They move out of that initial uncertainty and into the second stage, evaluation. They understand the fundamentals now, and they're starting to compare possibilities.
This is the pivot point. This is the moment your guest starts thinking, okay, I get it, now it's best for me. They're weighing their options, and this is your signal. This is when a well-timed, relevant suggestion isn't an interruption at all. No, it's a welcome piece of expert guidance.
And you can see that shift so clearly here. Just look at the difference in a guest's receptiveness. In that initial clarity stage, their openness to suggestions is, pretty low. But once they hit the evaluation stage, it shoots way up. They're not just open to your ideas anymore. They're actively looking for them. So how do you make sure your recommendations are relevant? You listen for clues. You listen to what they prioritize. Are they worried about comfort? Then you can talk about the benefits of a larger room. Are they on a business trip and need to be efficient? Tell them about the suite with a dedicated workspace. Your job is to connect the dots between what they want and an option they might not have considered. All right, your guest is getting close. They've evaluated their options and they're leaning towards a decision. This brings us to the final and I'd say most delicate stage, confidence. Your role now shifts again. It's no longer about presenting options, it's about making them feel fantastic about the choice they're about to make. Because right at this moment, there's only one question going through their mind. Have I made the right choice? They're looking for validation, for reassurance. So any offer you make now needs to support that feeling. You don't want to introduce anything that complicates their choice or causes them to second-guess themselves. So, think about offers that add a sense of security and peace of mind. Things like an airport transfer for convenience or adding a breakfast package for satisfaction.
These aren't new, complex decisions. They're smart, simple additions that reinforce the guest's choice and make them feel like they've really thought of everything.
So, we've covered the when, the psychological stages, but that's only half the story. To truly master this, you also need to consider the where and the how. The physical environment and the way you frame your language have a massive impact on how your suggestions are received.
You have to learn to read the room. Is the lobby chaotic? Is the guest glancing at their watch, clearly in a rush? Then you keep things simple, quick, and efficient. But if the environment is calm and the guest is relaxed and engaged, well, that's a golden opportunity to explore possibilities with them. The key is to always match their energy and their pace.
And this is so important. How you frame the suggestion matters immensely. You can't just present an option. You have to connect it directly to a goal they've already told you about. So if a guest says they're celebrating an anniversary, you don't just mention champagne. You say, to make your anniversary celebration extra special, we can have a chilled bottle of champagne waiting in your room. See the difference? You've made the connection for them. Now for the final piece. This is the idea that brings all these techniques together and makes them work. It's a fundamental shift in how you see your role. It's moving away from persuasion and fully embracing the mindset of guidance. Because here's the bottom line. It is always the guest's choice. Always. Your role is not to pressure them or to steer them to a specific outcome. It's to empower them to make the best decision for themselves. When you genuinely respect their autonomy and treat them as a partner in the process, that's when you earn lasting trust.
So if there's one thought I want to leave you with, it's this. You are not a salesperson. You are an advisor. Your objective is simply to present possibilities, to open your guests' eyes to a better experience they might not have known was available. Make that your guiding principle, and you won't just become more effective, you'll create truly memorable, positive experiences for every single guest you have the pleasure of serving.